How is it going? Hope everyone's doing well, and thank you for tuning this video. Today, I'm here with my pay-per-view review for AEW Revolution 2021. Let's go and dive right into things, which of course started on the buy-in, which featured Riho and Thunder Rosa taking on the team of Dr. Britt Baker and Reba. Well, it was supposed to be Reba, but you know what we learned earlier on, due to the injury suffered from Nyla Rose on Reba, she was not medically cleared by Dr. Britt Baker herself. So she would no longer be partaking in this match, and she ended up being replaced by none other than Maki Itoh, which, you know, everyone lost their shit for. She was very entertaining, and, you know, she definitely has a personality to withhold. But the match itself, honestly, was sloppy. I didn't really enjoy it. I just kind of thought the match was kind of over the place. Nothing was really connecting very well. No disrespecting any of the women, but Thunder Rosa seemed like she was just miles ahead of everyone in the ring. So it kind of seemed like they were kind of slowing her down, if anything. So, like I said, no disrespecting any of the women. Things just seemed like they just weren't clicking for them in this match for some reason. So when it came down to it, you know, Reba got involved, ended up hitting Thunder Rosa with the crutch, which allowed Dr. Britt Baker to secure the pin and the win for her team. So Britt Baker and Maki Itoh get the victory. Like I said, sloppy match if you ask me. And then we go to the main pay-per-view, which opened up with the AEW World Tag Team Championship match. The Young Bucks defending against Chris Jericho and MJF. The match started off pretty sloppy. I thought the brawling was kind of all over the place, and I didn't really kind of like the fact that the ref just let them fight for the longest time when the match started and didn't, you know, order them to, you know, bring the match back in the ring. It was kind of annoying and a nuisance, but it was what it was. Young Bucks had the upper hand for a good little while till MJF and Jericho worked over Matt Jackson. Just worked over him continuously throughout the match until Nick got the hot tag. Ran roughshod over both Jericho and MJF. Jericho went for the Judas effect, but Matt was able to counter it. They're going for the Melter driver, but when they're setting up for it, MJF was distracting Nick, and then as that was happening, Jericho reversed Matt's tombstone into his own tombstone, hit that, but then Nick still attempted the Melter driver, even though Jericho hit the tombstone like 5 minutes after, or prior to Nick jumping, so they obviously mistimed that. So it is what it is. I'm not going to nitpick everything. So, but Nick goes for the Melter driver, but Jericho counters it into the walls of Jericho. Towards the end, a lot of great counters and a lot of great near falls, honestly, to the point where I thought either team could have win or won. MJF, you know, hit the what's he called, where, you know, does the draping DDT between his legs. I forgot what he calls it. The heat seeker, I believe he calls it. Ends up hitting that for a great near fall. Really thought they had it there. Honestly, Jericho, even, you know, liking the walls of Jericho, I thought he's going to have it at some point as well. So a lot of great action. The ending sequence was, you know, great as well. Young Bucks, you know, hitting a super kick party and MJF to get rid of him. End up, you know, hitting a super kick on Jericho. End up hitting the BTE trigger on Jericho and following it up with the Melter driver for the 1-2-3 to retain the AEW World Tag Team titles. So yeah, I thought Young Bucks, Jericho, and MJF definitely had a really fun opening match. I had a lot of fun with it, and yeah, definitely was a hot start to the main pay-per-view. And from there, I'm going to go to the Casino Tag Team Royale, which basically was a Tag Team Royal Rumble. 2 teams started. Every 90 seconds, a new team came in. So it literally was a Royal Rumble. And it was fun. I thought it was a good Battle Royal. Nothing really too noteworthy happened to it. Natural Nightmares, I'm assuming they're split now. You know, QT Marshall eliminated the Gun Club, which pissed off Dustin Rhodes. So he ended up eliminating himself to pretty much stick it to him. Which, by the way, speaking of the Gun Club, you know, Colton Gunn, he cannot look any more spot on like Billy. Honestly, like, if you put on more like muscle, he would look spot on like Billy Gunn. It is scary how much he looks like his father. So just thought I'd point that out. But, you know, the one performer I really want to point out in this match was, of course, Rey Fenix. He looked like $1 million. I wasn't really for, you know, the constant interference. You know, you had a Marco stunt and, you know, the bunny get involved, which that was kind of a theme on this pay-per-view I didn't really enjoy. I feel like almost every match had at least some kind of interference. So I really wasn't for it, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much about it. But yeah, Rey Fenix looked phenomenal. Him and Jungle Boy had a really good exchange, and they were actually the final 2 competitors in this match, Jungle Boy and Rey Fenix. And then, you know, Rey Fenix ended up eliminating Jungle Boy to secure the win for him and Pac. So, yeah, they will, of course, be getting a future AEW World Tag Team title match against the Young Bucks. And honestly, whenever Phoenix and Pac get that title match, put the tag team titles on them. I think, you know, putting the tag team titles on them and adding it to the Death Triangle, you know, would be great. And, you know, potentially you could use, you know, with Pac and Phoenix being tag team champions, you could use that potential Freebird rule maybe to have Lucha Bros defend the tag team titles as well. So Hopefully that happens, but whenever that match happens, it will be phenomenal. I'm really excited for that, and definitely do think, the right team won it. So, yeah, it was a fine battle royal nonetheless. And then from there, we go to the AEW Women's World Championship match. Hikaru Shida defending against Mizunami, which I thought was a great match. These two women went out there and beat the holy hell out of each other, laying their chops and their kicks in. Match went to the outside where Hikaru Shida set up a chair, tried to hit a running knee, but Mizunami caught her and pretty much power bombed her into the crowd. So that was a great spot. Back in the ring, just laying in numerous chops and numerous kicks. Hikaru Shida just spammed the running knee, man. She probably hit about 50 of them, I want to say. Several of them. Even at one point hitting the Falcon Arrow for a great near fall. And Mizunami, man, she had her fair share as well. She was laying her shit in. She got some great near falls, whether it's a crucifix or a counter. Same as, the tag team title match. The match to the point that it got so close with the near falls and, in exchanges that I felt like it could have easily went either way. Even though I had a good idea, there's no chance of Shida losing the championship. It was so convincing that you thought, like, maybe they might put the championship on Mizunami. So, yeah, those two went out there, had a great match. Hikaru Shida definitely killing it with her title reign. She's a champion for almost a year and definitely deserving so. She's one of AEW's best, and definitely, she had a great performance here. And at the end, of course, hitting the running knee on Mizunami for the 1-2-3 to secure the win or retain the championship. So Shida's still the champion, and of course, afterwards, now Rhodes came out and attacked her, and Britt Baker and Maki Itoh followed suit as well to join in on the beatdown. That led to Thunder Rosa coming out to make the save for Hikaru Shida and Mizunami. So that obviously set up a 6-woman tag team match that'll be happening this Wednesday on Dynamite. So, I mean, I felt like they didn't need to do the whole post, beatdown to set up a match for Dynamite. I felt like they could have done that angle on Dynamite potentially, but I don't know. I just kind of felt that was unnecessary to add on to what was a great match, but it is what it is. What can you do? From there, I'm going to go to Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy taking on Miro and Kip Sabian. Right from the get-go, Miro just attacks Kip Sabian and Orange Cassidy, being a complete badass. And, that's pretty much the whole match is Miro taking on Chuck Taylor, beating him down. Orange Cassidy comes out, to make the big save, has his big comeback, We all know Orange Cassidy's comeback, the orange punch and everything like that. So he does that. Miro gets the upper hand, ends up ends up pushing Orange Cassidy into Penelope Ford to knock her off the apron and to pretty much, get the upper hand and get the win. Ends up, beating down Chuck Taylor, locks him into the Accolade, and of course Chuck Taylor submits. So Miro and Kip Sabian get the victory. Miro comes off, looks like a complete badass. This pretty much was an utter showcase for him, and rightfully so. Came off like a complete beast. Looked like he couldn't be tamed. And, he didn't care what cost either. He literally was blatantly able to throw them into Penelope Ford, knock off the apron to secure the win. So I thought this whole performance here made Miro look like a savage and definitely look like, a bright side for him. I feel like ever since Miro's been in AEW, it's been very underwhelming his booking. So this definitely was a step in the right direction, if you ask me. So yeah, very dominant performance by him. Next, we go to the big money match between Hangman, Adam Page, and Matt Hardy. I thought it was a solid match. No complaints from me. Adam Page was able to bring out the best of Matt Hardy what he could. I thought they had some good exchanges, especially the one spot I absolutely loved was Matt Hardy going for the side effect, and the way Adam Page was able to counter that into a crucifix pin. Oh man, that was absolutely beautiful. Matt Hardy kind of fucked up a little bit, but Adam Page was able to recover it enough to where it still looked fucking awesome. So that was a great spot, probably the spot of the match if you ask me. Matt Hardy worked on Adam Page's arm to try to prevent him from hitting the buckshot lariat. So that was the story of the match. Hangman Page was able to the buckshot or the dead eye to try and set up for the buckshot, but as he did that, Private Party showed up to try and distract Adam Page. As that's happening, Matt Hardy quickly hits a side effect, and hits a twist of fate for a very convincing near fall as well. If AEW can do one thing, they are phenomenal at these near falls. I'll give them that. So near fall there for Matt Hardy, but then that leads the Dark Order to come out to fend off, a Private Party. They end up saving Adam Page, and they end up actually assisting him into the Buckshot Lariat to get the 1-2-3 to beat Matt Hardy and to earn his first quarter earnings. So, like I said, solid match, probably the best match you could have gotten. Or honestly, it's probably one of the better matches you'll probably get out of Matt Hardy in this day and age. So, yeah, that was solid. And next we go to the Face of the Revolution ladder match, which of course the winner receiving a TNT Championship match this upcoming Wednesday on Dynamite. Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Penta, El Zio Miedo, Lance Archer, Platinum Max Caster, and of course the surprise entrant who ended up being All Ego Ethan Page, making his AEW debut. And, I have nothing against Ethan Page, but I don't know. I've never seen him as a main event draw, and I still don't. But maybe this opportunity here in AEW will change my mind. I don't know, but I just don't see Ethan Page as that big star attraction. But that's just my personal opinion. But in terms of the match itself, I thought it was a really good ladder match. I had fun with it. My only complaint was it just got to the point where it just felt like it was repeating itself. It just felt like the match was going on forever. So that's kind of my only complaint. Just felt like it was on repeat at a certain point in the match. But the spots were crazy, especially Cody Rhodes' spot where he took a Canadian Destroyer to the outside into a ladder, which I pretty much killed him. His shoulder was injured. I love the way they handled it. They took him to the back, and they had him sitting in the tunnel, so you can noticeably see him in the background during the match, and you'd see him turn, look at the match, and then they took him to the back, and then he'd come back out. So I thought the way they handled it came off very more real. It wasn't just the blatant same BS where they just go to the back and then they come at the very end. You saw Cody visibly in the background, holding his arm and selling the injury. So little things like that really add on, if you ask me. So Cody was pretty much selling a good majority of the match. Some insane spots in the ring. Max Caster was taking some crazy bumps as well. He ended up taking Lance Archer's finish onto a ladder, which looked absolutely dangerous. Poor Scorpio Sky fucking went through a ladder to the outside as well. So there were some insane bumps, especially Cody, once he made his way back to the ring, ended up getting suplexed by Lance Archer. Then Max Caster hits a, elbow drop off a ladder onto Cody. Just some insane stuff in this ladder match. So I got to give props to everyone. Ethan Page having a pretty good impression, even though I forgot who it was with. I think it was with Penta, maybe. Someone tried to do a spot, and Ethan kind of fucked it up a little bit. So I'm not going to nitpick things. He still had a good performance. I thought he looked good in his debut for AEW for sure. But when it came down to it, looked like Cody's going to secure the win. And even sacrificing himself enough to hit the crossroads and Ethan Page. He knew it was going to hurt his shoulder, but he knew you got to put him down. So Cody, out of desperation, hits a crossroads on Ethan Page. Looks like he's going to secure the win, but Scorpio Sky ends up coming out of nowhere, fends off Cody Rhodes, knocks him down, and Scorpio Sky ends up winning the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and of course will face Darby Allin for the TNT Championship on Dynamite. And honestly, I think Scorpio Sky should win the championship. I think, he'd make a great TNT champion. Darby, I know he's been kind of, tied up with Team Taz since he's won the championship, but I do think, he hasn't really done anything with the championship. So elevating it over to Scorpio Sky for the time being, I think should be, would be a good call. And then I definitely wouldn't mind it. So Scorpio Sky wins the Face of the Revolution ladder match. Like I said, really good ladder match nonetheless. Then from there on, we go to the big surprise signing of AEW, who ended up being none other than Christian Cage himself. And honestly, I was in disbelief. I know that's been the rumbling ever since they announced it. But honestly, to me, it just didn't make any sense. It's like, why would Christian go to AEW? He just came back to WWE. He just, had his first match back in, 6 7 years at the Royal Rumble, when he came back. So to me, it didn't make any sense at all when people were talking about Christian going to AEW, but to see it coming to tuition, no complaints. It was great hearing his TNA theme again, by the way. I'm very, very glad he has that. He's back to the instant classic gimmick. And I think Christian, there's a lot of potential great matchups there. So, although I'm very surprised, I am not disappointed or mad by any means. In terms of AEW hyping it, they definitely overhyped it, but at the same time, you want people talking. This entire past week, this is all everyone's been talking about, who's a big signing for AEW. So it definitely accomplished the goal. And to me, it didn't disappoint. I think Christian Cage is definitely a great signing. Like I said, there's a lot of great matchups there to be had with him. So definitely excited to see what we can do in All Elite Wrestling. And yeah, very happy for Christian to be back in wrestling in general. And of course, from there, I'm going to the street fight. Sting and Darby Allin, of course, taking on Team Taz's Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. This, of course, was shot in a cinematic match, or a cinematic style, I should say. And honestly, I thought this was awesome. I thought it was great. The presentation was phenomenal. Now, my only complaint, honestly, was that the fact that there was live commentary, which I did not mind, but they definitely lowered the volume too much from the match, because you barely heard the audio of the match itself. You just heard, Taz and, Shivani and JR just screaming their head off the entire time. You didn't really hear anything that was going on in the actual match itself. So I thought that was pretty disappointing, but, it is what it is. Yeah, I thought it was badass. Ricky Starks, him and Sting had a great exchange. Brian Cage, man, the one spot I absolutely loved was him walking up the flight of stairs while holding Darby Allin in a vertical suplex. That was fucking awesome. I absolutely loved that spot. But there was a lot of craziness. Even the entrances were badass. With Ricky and Brian Cage showing up with the badass car, and Sting and Darby Allin's badass entrance with the army of Darby Allins and Stings. Just everything about this was absolutely awesome. I really enjoyed it, and it didn't overstay its welcome too. It was short and simple. It was like 15 to 20 minutes long, the whole thing. So it was a lot of fun. It was very enjoyable. Darby Allin pretty much died, I thought. Brian Cage, Ricky Starks swung him through a fucking window, and then the freaking frame fell on his head afterwards, and then Darby Allin jumps off the second story to elbow drop Brian Cage, off it. It was just insane. This whole street fight was absolutely insane. I thought it was absolutely awesome. Hook got involved, so did Powerhouse Hobbs, but Sting and Ricky Starks, back in the ring. Ricky Starks did a huge spear for a near fall, but when it came down to it, Sting ended up pinning the Scorpion Death Drop onto Ricky Starks for the 1, 2, 3. So when it came down at the end, Sting and Darby Allin got the win. Absolutely insane street fight. Fuck, man. Even Darby Allin did a coffin drop off of one of the posts. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. Definitely recommend checking it out. Definitely one of my favorite matches this year so far. Really enjoyed that cinematic match. Like I said, my only complaint was that, commentary was, I wouldn't say the volume was high, but they obviously lowered the volume down for the match itself to hear the commentary more. So I would like to see a version without the commentary. I think that would be more enjoyable. But like I said, the commentary didn't ruin it by any means. It just would have been better if I could hear what was going on in the action more, for my personal preference. So yeah, great stuff. Really enjoyed that. And then of course with the main event, which was the exploding barbed wire death match for the AEW World Championship. Kenny Omega taking on Jon Moxley. And these two went out there and beat the holy fuck out of each other. And it was better than their Lights Out match from Full Gear 2019, if you ask me. They did some callbacks to that match as well, which I thought was great. But yeah, right from the get-go, both men didn't want to go to the barbed wire, locking in, such as something as simple as a headlock, trying to prevent it from going into the wires. But once the wires got involved, Moxley was spilling blood everywhere. They were using a goddamn chair that had barbed wire all over it, which, Moxley was scraping against Omega's leg. Omega just throwing Moxley into the barbed wire, which exploded. It was just, it was just something you got to watch, man. These two just brutalizing each other to the point where it was just, I don't know, man. I'm not a huge... it takes a lot for me to be disgusted and turn away at violence, but I don't know. I feel like even watch this is kind of there's kind of some points where I want to turn away, just because it was kind of just that brutal at some moments. But I did a callback to where Moxley ended up hitting the paradigm shift off the apron through the table with the barbed wire. You know, obviously Moxley did that to Omega at Full Gear in their first match, so I thought that was a great callback doing it here as well. Match went to the ramp. One spot I loved was when Omega hit the one-winged angel, and when he pinned Moxley, instead of kicking out, he kicked the bottom rope, which set off an explosion, which broke up the pin. I thought that was fantastic. That was definitely a very smart move on Moxley's part. He didn't even kick out. You know, his shoulders are both on the mat still. Ended up kicking the rope because he knew, you know, every time the rope was touched, explosion would happen. So obviously that happened, breaking the pin. Genius on Moxley's part. But yeah, like I said, these two just beat the holy hell out of each other. It was brutal, it was violent, and I loved it. I feel like this is definitely something that was missing in at least mainstream wrestling. I know obviously deathmatch wrestling still exists, you know, very heavily, but I feel like in terms of mainstream wrestling, this was definitely an element that's been missing for a very long time now. So it's definitely nice to see it be brought back. But towards the end, you know, looked like Moxley might have been picking up some steam to get the victory, but the Good Brothers got involved, ended up helping Omega. Omega ended up hitting the one-winged angel onto a chair to secure the win and beat Jon Moxley. So Omega wins, but the match still has some time to spare before the ring explodes, because obviously after 30 minutes, you know, the ring is supposed to explode, but the match ended with some time to spare. Good Brothers as well as Omega took upon themselves to beat on Moxley some more. Beat him with the barbed wire bat, pretty much just making sure he doesn't move. And then, of course, once the timer got down to 30 seconds, they bailed. But then Eddie Kingston came running down, which, man, I thought that was such a great touch. You know, even though they had such... I love that emphasized on the commentary as well, that even though these two have history, you know, that respect's still there, that love's still there. And, you know, Kingston coming out to try to do everything he could to wake Moxley up, to get him out of the ring before it exploded. I thought that was such an amazing touch, and they had to fuck it up. They had to fuck it up. Eddie Kingston couldn't wake Moxley up, so he was gonna go down with them. You know, Eddie Kingston covers Moxley like he's gonna help, you know, save him, and the ring explodes. Except it's pretty much just sparklers going off. Oh, man. They're supposed to have this big finale, and it gets fucked up. I'm sorry, but you can't help but laugh at it, you know? And obviously, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a malfunction. I don't know if they just didn't properly prepare for it or what, but it's hysterical. You can't help but laugh. You got Eddie Kingston selling it like he just fucking got shot up. Like, he literally, you saw him, like, clinching on the Moxley to, like, going, like, motionless, like, as if he was dead. And then, yeah, you know, Excalibur selling like, oh my God, the ring just exploded. And you got like these little 4th of July sparklers going off. It was an embarrassment. It was stupid. I know they already had Tony Khan try to make sense of it by saying that, it was a dud because Omega constructed it. But it's like, okay, you can say that, but then how come you have Eddie Kingston selling it like he got shot to death? And why do you have, you know, Excalibur selling it like the ring really exploded? You know, you got to answer those questions as well. So I like that they attempted to make sense of it, but the damage is already done. You can't make sense of it. So is what it is. I appreciate what they're going for, but yeah, what an embarrassment ending. But it does not take away from the match. The match was fantastic. I loved it. I thought it was a great violent match, but it just sucked that the ending had to be what it was. But it is what it is. What can you do? And that was the conclusion of Revolution 2021. Overall, I thought it was a great pay-per-view. I thought it was really fun. Like I said early on, my own really complaint really was that I felt like almost every match had some kind of interference, whether it's someone, at least outside interference, you know, whether someone get involved or someone actually costs someone a match. There's, you know, someone on the outside get involved, and I just thought it was, you know, overbooked, and I felt like it was getting to the point where it was like, okay, is every match get the same treatment? You know, just, I don't know. It just got kind of annoying and whatnot, but besides that, really nothing to complain about. I thought we had some great matches on the show. I didn't think anything, you know, was bad by any means. If there's anything that was a bad match, maybe the Miro tag, but obviously the whole point of that match is make Miro a complete badass, which they absolutely did. So honestly, yeah, nothing bad at all on the main pay-per-view release. You know, the buy-in. Obviously, I didn't like that match by any means, but the main show itself, great pay-per-view. Had a lot of fun with it. hopefully AEW can keep it up and keep the momentum going forward. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please feel free to like below. And of course, the next time, I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys for watching the video.